딱발 거리. 수남시에고는 사기에 까는 소리구나. 저저가라 저거한테 자식들이 그저 먹네.
Tashideleg, everyone. Good morning, everyone who's joining us on the live stream. And so we started teachings on the relationship of the prayer wheel and merit, which is hosted by the Garchen Mila Buddhist Center in Iowa. And Abu Lama will begin leading us in the opening prayers in the yellow book on page 1.
다 통하는 것을 문제도 통보요래지. 그래서 생각 제와요가 상황들이 제와는 다 요래. 이 정도 한번도 맞다리. 다 통하다 까지 있나 요래. 내봐야 요래. 마음과 요래. 다 요래. 근데 철저하다 파셔요 말에 이 내가 동당고 대방문이 샘들이면서 샘들이 이요 말에 동당대만 통성 대례장들이 도저히 장지 이제 내 말에서는 저희 마음 버리더니 롱것이 봐도 롱것이 나 온데다래 가지는 요래 쌈 가지나 내가 쌈 거래.
So Rinpoche said that what we see now, seeing each other on the live stream, is what we see our true selves. We really actually see each other because we are here because we love each other. And when there is love, then we are very close to each other. The physical body is just like an empty house. But what you see on the screen is actually always available, always present. In the past, in the present, and in the future. And it is because of the mind. The mind is beyond birth and death. So the ultimate, on the ultimate level, what we really are is the mind. And within the mind there is no duality. So this is how one sees it when one sees the ultimate truth. And this unchanging nature is referred to as Buddhavajradhara. So if you really think about the reality, then you think that this is actually what I'm saying is really true, then in the future, and this understanding is what will create the birth in the Sambhogakaya Pure Land. So, therefore we should always reflect in this way. And then Tashidele to Kempo Tupsang and Al Marie and Naomi and then everyone else from the Dharma Center who is joining today on the live stream. I'm very happy to see all your faces and Tashidele. So then please start the opening prayers. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue.
Page number 7, mandala offering.
Number 7. Back to page 7. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping, completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Page 9. Namo. To the Guru, the utter purity of all appearance and existence, I offer all appearance and existence arisen as the primordial ground. I supplicate you, may the 3 realms be completely liberated. Please grant blessings to empty samsara from its depths. Lord, with 5 omniscient wisdoms, crown ornament, kind one with loving nature, precious protector of beings, heart of all Buddhas, inexpressible by words or thought, I supplicate you from the core of my mind. Bless me from within the state of dharmata. bless me to realize this mind, primordially pure and unborn, as the unfathomable Dharmakaya. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma, of the greater and lesser vehicles, and the teachings common to both, according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
땅 소리 당시에 수놈 시발이 수놈 사지 다른 적인 강가들이 들이 사지 당시에 게다거리는 수놈송 수놈 시발을 강이 같이 시랑 무슨 게 요 말이 다시 게달랍 팀보를 파르데스 막쪽에 사와주 봐주지나 대수남리 이제 홀 사와 탐치다 동네가라고 통교요래 대연들이 수남 시바데 강면이 전들이 선대식 정본들이 시합을 차들었지는 시합을 차들은 인제 정보를 ramyin 것들이 빼라 시합을 차는 인제 척을 ramyin 가능을 쳐서 강문제 와서 차본 거리 척을 ramyin 이 차원의 쳐서 게임에도 또 생각을 ramyin 민기요래 그러나 첫째 시랍구나 지인들이 첫째로 사가 차올로 제가 또 그랬더니 이제 그렇게 매일 때리더니 그렇게 좀 탐치들이 책들이 내와 토크 요리들 내와다 내와 저다 내 말조차 송들이 수놈들이 오 다티 상속심 적고래 상속심은 요 말이 되라고 상고 요래 대형 말이 수놈 예바 하 고나더니 수남고 저로 또더니 탐체 수남 거라는 거 오요래 제직진 수고 송었더니 세다세 제 탑이제에서 탑지바 탐윤지 제보대 다티 탑가래 탐체 수남 거 저런 거 탐체 수남 거 저런 거 수남 거 저대 딱고자 설미 저 도도제는 이제 대신에 들이 수남 총총을 쳐봐서 어떠고요래 사지가 탑대 띠용을 저들이 시합다 이제 시합이 용나 대전들이 이게 대수는 거죠. 대내편에서 뭐 배준이 냠되는데다 도적적 냠되나 오 배준이가 쇠와나 랑이가 서바 잡고 쳐버리 야 쇠와면에서 냠도 대통령을 누구 냠되고는 성카가 차대 배대동을 쇠와들이 쇠와랑지 성광 시합은 용보이나 이 때는 시합을 안 시대 가서 차올라 이 차고 뭐 때려서니 이제는 안 진서 그 손한 거 거기서 대서 저 뭐두셔 되게 가장 그 뭐든지 뭐 저더니 들어와 롱그랑 이 손한 거이 롱 가야처 두대체요래 이 때는 이제 손랑송네 이 손은 가스차 가면 지체면으로 취직이 가서 왔잖아요 너는 센티 탐들 피바도 되고 저들이 대수는 수는 거죠. 대 저에 막 싫어. 오 대수는 레스 대처다고야. 대체도 망도 대 뭐하시는 들이 딱 먹었다고 들이 만보 차음을 다가 삼부터 없는데 삼행제도 다쳐 보니 뭐 하고는 이때라면 이제 삼행제 뭐나 대리적보다 사제 탐색을 이제 제보 되는 로요래. 추지 이제 도시바디 이제 내식이 뭐 그런 상제에 sen지 상제에 연락들이 내가 저런다고 차성 이 상제 탐지 상제에 장소치 못하래 sen지 탐지 되는 자금도 차대요래 이 자금도 저래 쪽과 차는 이 사제 있어요 그래 수능 가시 이제 랑가 강지기 때 뭐두시다 신체 수능들 돌아는 내가 관도
Dashidelek, everyone. And so today we're speaking about merit. And so generally, the people always speak about merit, and they say you have to accumulate merit. Plainly speaking. And so also we say that whatever virtues the Buddhists have created, that is called merit. But so some people don't actually, because of thinking in this lofty way, some people don't actually recognize what merit actually is. So people think it's only when somebody's doing something really significant, like really practicing the 6 parameters and so on, that is merit. And they say that all our worldly samsaric activities are just totally meaningless. So what actually is merit? Inherently, it is Buddha nature. And Buddha nature possesses an aspect of intelligence, of wisdom. And from this intelligence, compassion arises naturally. And the nature of this compassion is like water. Whatever it connects with, it will pervade that, just like water. Whatever water connects with, it will it pervade that space. For example, when water pervades the earth, then the flowers and plants will naturally grow. That's just the nature of water. And the presence of water also naturally leads to well-being for sentient beings with a body and also without a body. We always say, may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So this cause of happiness is what we call merit. So some people may think that it's only bodhicitta. What merit is only if you have bodhicitta. If you don't have bodhicitta, then you also have no merit. But it's actually not quite just like that. We need to really identify what actually is merit. And merit actually arises in anywhere, in any circumstance. There can be merit. There can be the cause of merit. Anything can become a cause of merit if you really understand what it is. Now, Lord Jigten Sumgön said, therefore, in whatever you do, if you practice virtue in whatever you do, that is the perfection of skillful means. So the skillful means or the method is to possess great compassion in general. So what is the actual method? The actual skillful means, all skillful means are the cause of creating merit. And we need to identify what is the cause of merit and then hold on to it and kind of condense it into an essence so that we can really hold on to it. And that is a skillful way of turning a small merit into a great merit. So the Buddhas basically taught the skillful means to create merit. So first of all beings possess the quality of wisdom or intelligence, and because they possess this aspect of intelligence, from that compassion arises naturally. And this compassion is the cause of merit. For example, in an ordinary sense, when two people live together and they love each other, they will both naturally be happy. But if there is no real love, then they won't be able to stay together. And even if their bodies are together, their minds really are separated. So the essence of this aspect of intelligence is compassion. And the nature of compassion is pervasiveness. It's like water that pervades or permeates. So that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to introduce you to the real cause of merit. And in relation to that, also Khenpo Tenzin Rinpoche helped me to find some scriptures some quotations from the scriptures. And so I kind of saved a few of these quotations to mention to you. And so anyways, when we speak about merit, the first thing to understand is that merit, when you understand its cause, then you see it everywhere. There is merit to create it everywhere. In no matter what you do, whether you practice the dharma or you engage in a mundane activity. So in brief, a merit is anything that leads to the benefit and happiness of sentient beings. So we need to first of all identify what is the actual cause of merit. And then once you know that, you will always recognize, oh, here is a cause of merit. I must hold on to that. I must increase that more and more. And so in this way, if you increase it, then first you have developed the power of your own intention, which is your own intention of love and compassion. So it means that you understand that love and compassion are very precious. So you develop this power, and then you habituate to that. You create the causes of merit, and in this way you connect to the second power, which is the power of all the Buddha's great compassion. And once you have connected to that, you connect to the third power, which is the power of the dharma dhatu. That is your own Buddha nature, which actually is Buddha. Actually, the mind of all sentient beings is Buddha. It is just temporarily their mind has become like ice blocks. The mind of the Buddha's great love is like an ocean, and the mind of sentient beings is like the ice blocks floating on that ocean. But when the ice melts, it will also connect to the water, and one attains enlightenment. So anyways, today I'm going to introduce you to what merit actually is, and also encourage you to discuss the meaning of merit with each other.
제가 통화 나다 들어가 롱 가시요 롱용용들이나 나의 쇼이 강리 소남 되면 매야니 사바탄 들어가 롱레리도 들어가 롱레 소남 되면 매야네 사바탄 제이빈 럽 바치드 라미니 녀드 타와 토반 거서 파파드 발에 지금 내 것도 된다고 쓰는 이제 타바타만 줘서 돌게 되어라서 봐. 그것도 쓰는 그것도 산책 참는 돌게 되어 약도고요 해서 너니 돈을 산책 참는 때는 타타서 남지 먹으면은 근데 파파드 발에서 지시 손이 담아되는 마도나 대니 돈이 대시 돈이 동담되는 돈은 줘서 동담 또 돈이 또 오거나 들어봐게 되는 송로리지 일단 사람 돈이 시바데 강해지 돈이 시바데 다다다지 니요반데 매와 하고는 다지 니가 또 뭐니지 다지 니가 매니나 온데 매니레스 다지 니요아스 옛날에 새 적들 때는 매니레 상걸 남 샘대로 그랬대나 그 샘은 니요 말이네 가바니나 그 가바니 로쪽 봐도 요 말이 그 로고도 그랬더니 가바니 로쪽 봐는 잡을는 가바도 로쪽 같더니 나도 요래배나 그래도 로시 봐도 내로도 하고 그랬더니 세고 내로 때서 타뇨 차거래 그 돈당거 된 바대야 그다 나오냐마데 지디도 세네더니 나는 저래더니 다지 니메와 또 때렸더니 또 당거 된바지 그 최고 내놓고는 또 올랐더니 그런 시람자가 손발에 강을 내놓고는 투박고는 매죠 따따다 가시는 때문에 그런 로장지를 로장 망고들이 다까 도주 롱맹 같은지 로장지를 때 강을 또 당거 된바 통체 코나리 또 나와 된바처럼이라고 다 대통령만 통통선은 어떻게 다 상제지 이거를 야요 말이지 배는 라마다랑지 상제선 저래지 라마무르지 돼서 가지고 때로 좀 그래 들이 때들이 자고도 라마정문은 라신 상제 정오 마시지 섭대식 정보시 반데 다다디 답보는 뭐지 타지는 저대식 정보 뛰는 지에서 저대식 정보 뛰는 로를 독 참을 찾고 요래 가사카 차게래 들들 내 차우로 들들 로아도 사지습지 니요만 선은 나가다가 차오르리 선은 나가다가 차는데 나 동바 동장은 봐 내지 시바사고 사 동문제 리사와니 뭐니뭐 다오르더니 동바르더니 나가다가 싹 동소죠 됐다와더니 만 차요고요래 대다와데 사지 고망데 세군내로도 통화되라 산지라고요래 되게 당시 저 노르디나 그래서 다들 세고 다들 세고 인피를 ordini 세고래 인피를 ord에서 남지 그거래 그때 수남때 현고만성 대발에 현고만성 민제래 그때 그 레지브레이션 상에서 공부요나 오다 레지브레이션 상부터 수남고 저래 데비드 저래 동네 다니 뉴모바레 상 데 매년한테 샤브 차라티네 다랑지 샤브 차니게 되라티네 로아도 소소 데고가 좀 되요나 맨날 또 소차만 보이는 소차 차와 담겨 때나 이 소차라라 대와요 라라 동해요리 대상도 내가 고깝게 가르스를 토고도 동해 고깝게 가르스를 샤크도 그래 대다로 상모다 시도 상모도나 니 좋아져 뒤서 공부송에 집제 그쪽 사람은 저기 송 아니라더니 럽당 강요요 말이지 레좀제 콜라 시도 상모다 졸람 탐실때 상모다나 그래서 이제 뒤서 공부송데 문제들을 막또 저기도지 책대 치고 송문이 집제 그쪽 사람은 저기 송 그래서 데려티는 다 지체미 봤으면 되나 들고 와서 작아도 별라 대회를 드리지랑 강시로 막 탐들이 쇼요래 돈은 수남시바 강에지 수남시바데 삼티를 뛰니 진짜 가리시거든 삼티는 누가 가리리 생을 삼티오나 내가 가리시거든 삼모테는 그리다다 또서 차 비틀만 뭐냠데 참아 저거 내토고요 대사비 피치 삼티 문치가 다스 소차 잡탐만 뭐냠데 거든 매케 때렸다 로바티 코돌 칼라테 가오지게 이보 좀지보 데라소가 예동 탐지 류가 있으면 이동아 대통령 대사를 가시르들이 예동은 통화서 세고와 똑고봐 이 가리 때듯이 줄람속과 득발한다 또 저렇다기는 마세 탐해리 때 장난이었던 게 고소님 집에가 사오를 갑자기 매년 동사를 어떻게 말했다 너무 그리 때는 고소티 세고 우리들은 마시 저득 빠지는 세발이 말이 고소 세고요 라는 다다리 레가 왕그라기지 누바테게 들이다 이는 누바타는데 누바테게 들이다 랑그 동네 랑스 조요래 베나 다 대사가 차들 대셔도 상마도 다 대사마카리 다 세미래 세부들은 다 차고를 대다다 시합 용리인지 요래 시합이랑 이게 되는 제와는 그래서 쓰는 거 이제 차 탐지 상마당은 그리다당 남바차지 가시기는 다 레집제 추레스 마서 고고 말레스 추 레집제 저서 마고는 추를 내가 고요리가 추다다 내와야 요리 동네 요리 추 동네 코나나 따지도 손남 레집제 마시나 따지더라게 강동도 지르때 다 동네 좀만 뭐 접도 요리 ram시를 동네 pero dolorjuna tagaryan maran sok을 지도요 야 내가 그러고 말이 pero 먹이와도 저랑 요거더니 담은 도차를 제당 나제 담아 도차를 도차를 센나를 제당을 차도들이 다 대답도 doktor을 또먹대 들이라고 시작을 매와체로 말을 받아도 유머를 해도 저기 데려들이 먹이와를 안 쏘고 고들이 그래서 다 속차다로 당기는 레비전도 따뜻히 저거 통는데 삼로당은 나라니 그때 삼로당은 다 완전히 오죠 배는 땅에서 먹이오래 출은 먹이오래 가서 레지브레 실을 가지 좋았다나 다 먹이오래 주고 그 세서 통고도 먹이오래 가와래야지 말해야지 먹이오라 이제 저 사람 뭐 담지 통고야지 레지브레 마시를 끼워 세람들 라게 대신감들한테 뭐들랑 끼워하면 레게 다마다다 사람 뭐 요리는 라게스다 통고도 이렇게 얘나 레지브레 시소나 샘들이 저게도 샘을 통게 또 샘이 리마를 샘들이 라게 저스는 거 속발았더니 같이 가요 말이 사속샘기에는 사바샘이 고소는 사지가 고로 톡톡을 되는 다 맞지가 저한테 chu le jim de shi na ga so chu le mai ko la ga shi na ta nga yin o ta nga le jim de shi na ga la sa le pe te da le cha de yo le de chu ro sa me sam no ta na de ta ta chu la ga ni mang bo yo le la wa sa je be te ma le shu ni ya mang bo yo le na wa sa je ba chi ko ma le don te ri ro do ka do chi cham le jim de ma shi na dong ri ta wa yo ma le dong ri ta wa tap chi yo ma le 대외들이 주요롱 매용 사와용 낭바용 대화서 고는 점제시고 점제시고는 다들이 다 점제지 먹는 추다 그래. 이 추럭 잡아서 나만아서 막 보여래. 얘나 지난지 다 레점제는 시치장은 추사 미적 하다는 저버다송 저티서 고도는 주체 같이 막나요. 레점제를 시치 보면은这个去养到我系统就买送。那时候送我的，这那就知道他们了，那个感觉是我都这都下送去。
So there are two quotations from the scriptures I would like to reference, and so the first one comes from the Vinaya scripture, and there it says, a person who possesses merit will, the wishes of a person, all the wishes of a person who possesses merit will be accomplished, and no demonic obstacles can cause them any harm. They will quickly attain the state of liberation. So that's the first quote, and that quote shows the relative truth or the relative merit, the relative bodhicitta that leads to birth in the higher realms, the attainment of the happiness in the higher realms. And then now the second quote shows the ultimate truth or the ultimate merit, and that quote comes from the condensed Prajnaparamita, and it says, until the twofold accumulations have been completed, one will not realize the true meaning of emptiness. So that is the second quotation, and so this is the ultimate truth. So regarding this realization of emptiness, Tilopa actually said, when he explained what is the meaning of emptiness, so emptiness, so now presently we perceive this duality. We think there is self and other. So realizing emptiness means that one realizes that self and other actually do not exist in a separate way. That realization is the realization of emptiness, according to Tilopa. So for example, if there is two people, ordinarily we think, so there is these two people. We think that there is myself and then there's the other person. And so that's how we usually think, because we see the body of the other person. But somebody who has seen the true nature of the mind will not see them as two separate individuals. For example, it's like having many different handphones, but all these phones are powered by one electricity. There's only one electricity. There are phones all over the world in different places. They all seem separate, but they all are powered by one and the same electricity. There is no two electricities. So this is how it is when one understands the nature of the mind. When you understand the nature of electricity or light, then you come very close to understanding the true nature of your mind, which is the ultimate reality. So when you see that, all concepts of an I that truly exists, all dualistic perception will completely collapse. When you realize that self and other do not exist separately, you see the ultimate truth. The omniscient Longchen Rabcham had said, there is no higher learning than to see the true nature of your mind. So there are some scholars who study their entire life. They study the scriptures for many years. the sutras and the various scriptures, the tantras and so on. And why do they do that? It is all only for the purpose of seeing the ultimate truth. And seeing the ultimate truth means to see what really is without any doubts in the mind. And when you see it, then you become a Buddha. And that is an unchanging state. In the Kagyu tradition, we say that this state is realized by through cultivating devotion to the Guru. In this way, this is a skillful means to recognize that the Guru's mind, the Buddha's mind, my own mind are all one. Chamgyung Kongdrul said in calling the Guru from afar, I have not recognized my own mind to be the Buddha. So that is my own Buddha nature. And also Gampopa said something similar in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. He said that the cause is Buddha nature and the support is the precious human body. So the cause that is Buddha nature is all pervasive. It pervades all sentient beings. So it is everywhere. Buddha nature is everywhere. And on the basis of this, we can understand that there is no separation, no duality between Buddhas and sentient beings. So the mind is like space. When that is realized, then you realize emptiness. But emptiness is not just a state of nothingness, but it also possesses a quality of clarity, a clear knowing awareness. And that is what we call this unity of clarity and emptiness. So there is a clear mind that understands, for instance, this is the cause of merit. And then there is this clarity, this clear mind is empty of self-nature and is like space, and that is emptiness. So that is what is referred to as the union or unity of clarity and emptiness, or the view which is like the sun. So when one sees the nature of the mind, your true nature, then one attains the state of Buddhahood. And so in brief, first of all, in order to exhaust all our fixation to a self, to seeing a self, we must first cultivate an altruistic mind. So the altruistic mind is what we refer to as merit. And when it is directed toward higher beings, it becomes devotion or faith. And when it is directed toward sentient beings, it becomes compassion. And also somebody who understands karma, somebody who is clear about the workings of karma, they also possess the cause of merit, which is basically the cause of happiness. The cause of suffering are self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. So beings possess Buddha nature, and a quality of this nature is intelligence or wisdom. And the quality of that is compassion. From wisdom arises compassion. And it arises anywhere in the 6 realms of samsara. Even the slightest happiness that beings experience comes from this innate merit. For example, even the smallest animal experience some happiness. There are some who experience more happiness and some who experience more suffering. So why is it that some animals, for example, have an opportunity to experience more happiness and some experience more suffering? Really think about this carefully. Jigten Sumgön also said, karma, cause and effect, is the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. So I myself have not really studied much, but this is one thing that I have really reflected upon very carefully in all activities. These words by Jigten Sumgön. And actually my own root guru, the Siddha Chime Dorje, he always and only mentioned mainly just this one quotation by Jigten Sumgön. So I really held that in mind and always reflected on that continuously. And as a result, I have gained some understanding of it. So, and now I'm just sharing whatever I do understand with the disciples. So in brief, what is merit? It really is love. And what is love and what is the power of love? So, for example, when we look at animals, for example, there are some animals who can all coexist harmoniously their entire lives. There is even hundreds and thousands of animals who can coexist with each other happily. And so why is that? And there are some animals that are very pleasing, and humans want to help them and feed them, and they have very beautiful and a beautiful appearance and beautiful voices. Everything they do, these animals with body, speech, and mind, just seems to be very pleasing for humans, for example. And then on the other hand, you have other animals that are very terrifying. The moment you see them, you have no choice but to kill them. For example, like a scorpion or a poisonous snake. Actually, often you have no choice, no help but to kill them. And actually, you may wonder, isn't that really terrible to kill them? Actually, they are really in a way killing themselves through the force of their karma. They're really creating their own suffering. So day and night, they're kind of hiding out in under the earth and in cracks and so on. And the moment we see them, we are terrified. And when we come into contact, they cause a lot of harm. So when they are killed by humans, then in a way, humans can't help but kill them because they are threatening and cause great harm. So what's really harming those animals is their own karma. They really have created the cause of their own suffering in the past. So if you think about this carefully, you will see that it's all mind. So if you have wisdom, then you will have compassion. That's the nature of wisdom. They're connected. And if you understand that, you will see causes of merit, large and small, all over the place. For example, it is a concept that we speak about in Buddhism. And so therefore some people say that karma is what belongs to the Buddha Dharma, and so we don't need that. However, even if you say you don't need karma, what you do need is happiness. Right now, you do experience happiness, but you also experience suffering. And those who mainly experience suffering suffer because they do not understand karma. If you do not understand karma, you think that I don't need the dharma, I can do whatever I want. If you have this mindset, you will naturally always create only the causes of suffering. So, for example, if you are casting a rock in the air, it is natural for it. There's no other way for it to fall back down. That's the nature of it. So one affliction leads to the other. First, you have attachment, and that leads to stinginess or greed. That leads to anger. That leads to jealousy, and ultimately we end up with ignorance. And when you arrive at ignorance, there is no more wisdom, no more intelligence left behind. So gradually, one affliction obscures more. So they increasingly obscure the mind until there is just ignorance. And then all you do is engage in negative action. Then negative actions just unfold on their own, really. And you can understand that by just looking at all the different animals and the differences and see the cause behind those differences. So this is how I myself have reflected. So if I really think about that, if someone were not to ask me, what would you prefer to have? Do you prefer to have eyesight, or do you prefer to understand karma? So normally, an ordinary person would think, obviously, I want to have eyes, because without eyes, there would be so much suffering. With eyes, I can see all the things in the world, so I better have eyes. But that's not how I would respond, because with eyes, you can only see material, worldly things. But what you really need to see is the workings of karma, because when you see karma, you will be able to achieve happiness in all future lifetimes. So that is what we call the eyes of karma. Well, the material eyes, whether they are clear or not, it doesn't matter so much. Like I myself actually don't see so much. But I see the workings of karma. And again, we come back to the mind, which is more important than the body. And if you understand that, if you understand karma and the cause of merit, you will never encounter any obstacles. If you then habituate to bodhicitta and immeasurable love, you will attain the state of Buddhahood. So therefore, if someone were to ask me, what would you prefer, to understand karma or to have eyes, I would be able to say I definitely would prefer karma. So that is something I encourage you, my Dharma friends, to really think about. There's many people who are interested, who want to practice the Dharma, many people who have entered the Buddhist path of practice, but it's not just about Buddhists or the Buddhist path. Actually, in anyone, wherever you are born in the 6 realms of samsara, if you do not understand karma, you have no way at all to ever become separated from suffering. It doesn't matter whether you are a Buddhist or not a Buddhist, whether you practice the Dharma or not. If you want to be happy, you must understand karma. And that is really what we call the Dharma. It is the understanding of karma. And so that is something that is important for anyone. There are many different religions all over the world, but what's important is for all is to understand karma. Jigten Sumgön also had said that if one has not gained certainty in karma, then just speaking loftily about the view of emptiness is but a lie. So meaning that you may practice the Dharma and speak of it eloquently for many years, but if you do not understand karma, cause and effect, if you don't believe in karma, then you don't really understand the Dharma. You're not really a practitioner. So anyways, Dharma friends, this is what I wanted to speak to you about today, briefly.
Di nangdi thoba dine, thoma nangdi gangli dine, rang thola nang jumde, rang thola mini mine, rangi nyamsu nyungwa nyamnyongzi chayore. Dera dine sa jumde samwa tanga, dine khorde tangche jumde ganangni, jumde ganganan zhogo yore. Tateli jumde shwa meba song dine, dine kwade chare, gangli nang jumde, ranga thola nyongwa dira, tada petame shira de, ta mangzore de, yenang de, de potok gore, pena, ta nga sosona de, lama ka mengta yore, polo dunga thoni, dea leda, sunam ka mengche boja thop yore, o mengte pe tu tong shira sunam sakwa jare, dera ranga pimpa da yina dewa de, di jara thop yore, yenang dele 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 na pa la ga song re pa la ga song ne da chang de men de la ya la de la de ya po de nyo re men de ni ma shi le chang da me song song ma ta le da men je re gang le chang le de la song dong ma shi na sa ba de ni bo ma shi na da chang ge da ama ga na ma ne de 다 쇼하고 어디 싸워요 그랬지. 내가 쇼하고 어디 제가 마는 로 싸워요 그랬다. 마는 로지 창 따요 그랬지. 저 잡고 그랬지. 그래서 말이 가래 다 섬노 가면 마땅한 때니 쇼하고 어디 쏘보고 잡디 타마사 때 돌아온 거 뭐만 가는 말이나 레주리 마시나 미소som 타라 메바 이때라 저거 또 소차 가시는 애들이 들이 속차 가시지 속차 차오만 보고 사 그때는 버스 깔아지 때문에 버스 요리 네 약간 대 속차 조만만 보고 사그래 들 코랑 사자과 오늘 그때 속차 터져 사들 동네 빠면만 연구 요리 대라 송송 들다다 잡지는 소차치 못한지 들리려 소차만 차만 보게 도네당 감세당 들냠도 저는 다다 사동는 용고요래 소차적으로 좋고는 소차 사양만 보겠더니 참지 대자가 요래 대타에서 배라 송대송은 매 대타 차리 요래 더니 대라 삼노 또 첨보래 삼노 했더니 삼노 양다 버렸더니 직다 세미 받으면 저 삼바다 인지 레좀 되고 삼노 또 마시라 그 지야 탐지 베기를 조조고 요래 배나 대타를 만다 용하리 대라 티니들이 소소가 되자 레좀 되지 샵도 삼노 땅아 대리 시대에서 요래 얘는 대리당 아무튼 나고로라고 다 이렇게 당사제 때문에 국가를 들라고 동강은 동강은 전해드리다 미사마 강의요를 또 호동 강의요를 들이 가셔야겠더니 좀만 뭐 싸들이 주고 좀 정말 짱주는 야리는 소마타지 철철살이 돼서 가깝 사요래 뭐게 그만 못 살이 요래 다들 잡을 깨르들 그만 못 소요래 특징이 당보니 와 대가변살이 잡을는 뭐에다 마속들이 마속다 뭐에 냠송요래 얘는 뒤값 되는데 가게 돼 다다 보나 두고 또는 지말이서 야 뭐지 레지요는 찾지는 되더니 난가 좀 하는 거 취봐 다지 근데 대탐지게 좀 강는 거치 보게 시바 대저거 대탐지게 들 양자 좋았지 들가래 들하게 땅고 거치 담봉고 거치 초반은 쇼리 니바라더니 자단 공시들은 매니만 뭐죠 그 시랑은 첨보 요래 랑파 쇼고급 소리 셔야살에서 뭐는 보자 셔가살에서 각 들리들이 고급 소리다 까자만 보듯이 이 거기 삼롱때네 시장 로용용레스 시합 가보레스 시장 찍기를 파마요살에 파마요절에 공치다가 시기들이 람링만 보요래 가리 라저 코지라고 요래 저는 그냥 시주대가 있으네 등이 인체 주적으로 되니 가라 탱 선바 여와 나와 죽과 가라를 막 이제요래 내가 칠라 가라 탱 쪽대거예 나라 가라 탱 쪽지 잡아디 선바 여와 나와 죽과 사마티 나하고 찍으면 야래 그때 다 좋아 강도도 진짜 토성들 살못하는 오 다때 내 찌레스 레데 나와서 야 가야나다 랑게양데 수남게 레게 찌르티다가 민만 보고 그 셔는 다다 토요리 지들 레좀 상세 되네 그때라도 왔지 지마가 생고만 추가다 저만 지마가 되베 레스 지안하자 되는게 미시지요래 별 데이터를 들이 이게들은 통을 고용하고 요래 대cap들이 데이터가 늘 초과 잡을까미더니 앞제로 말고로 들더니 남들 잡게 요래 산 마다 타마고 타고는 정말 이거는 이면다 잡고 요래 내가 잡아봐고 요래 잡아다니 봐고 요래 고바 파장 나 속거들이 마탐지 칼로전들이 됐다 니마카를 잡아 지능이 심하죠 심사 어때탐지 레 남좀 되겠네 대탐지 꼴 싸우는 땅에 셔를 그면아 오 다들은 된다고 나를 잡아봤나 했더니 나 심하죠 심사레스 얘나 롱빵만 보면 다 따만 보고 삼지세 요래 얘나 오 다들이 가라토를 까면 오다 참만을 먹이는 됐다고 명어야 내가 가라 된다고 가리를 토성 달래가 톱성 내 가래서 따지바당 생고만 추가서 세고만 이바근 되게 대신에 토요레 오 종이 잡아서 좀 봐는 되는 이라가 쏘죠 봐라서 단데 따뜻 필름 담자를 되는데 먹게 니 봐들 때 이와지 필름 송교 이제 쏘잡 dim바 동안 동바송제 디바 나왔다 안송 그러다 몸을 도바때 참 순한 구조들하고 싸웠다네 대상마당 좀 레지 캠차리 하장들이랑 라면 지지 낭좀 됐다고 상마당 그리 때려 따사좀 됐다 잡을은 가 송은 누구에 토라 싸는 땅에 이렇게 이렇게 자셔요.
And so to karma, there are three aspects. There's an outer, inner, and a secret karma. So of these three, actually first, I myself reflected on the inner workings of karma, which means the karma from the perspective of my own personal inner experience. And then based on my own inner experience, I then reflect on the outer workings of karma and how everything in samsara and nirvana follows the law of karma. It is said that karma is infallible. So based on reflecting on that, this understanding, this certainty arose in me. So first, it comes from an inner experience of karma, how I processed karma myself in my own mind. And then on the basis of that, I understand the outer workings of karma. So from a personal perspective, just to give some personal examples, at a very young age, I was already given the title of a High Lama. I was only 7 years old at that time. And this also is karma. So it is the force of merit that brought me this name or this title. But then only if one knows how to use such a title, it can become a cause for accumulating merit, which means that it becomes the cause for one's own benefit and the happiness of others. So at that time when I was given this name, my father said to me, so now you have received this high title. It can lead to very positive results if you can use it well. But if you don't know how to use this name properly, then this is the name. It is this name that will cause you to be born in the 3 lower realms without any liberation from there. Meaning that if you don't know how to understand, if you don't understand karma, and if you do not make an effort to cultivate love and compassion, then he said, he made kind of this nickname, you are someone who, while still drinking the milk from your mother's breast, because I was so young, so you're drinking the milk from your mother's breast still, but you are eating corpses. Meaning that because even at a very young age already, having this high name, I was already asked to do many ceremonies for those who have passed away and also for those who are alive. And if I wouldn't do this properly without thinking about this properly, then I would be just someone who basically takes the offerings of others while still feeding on the breast of the mother. Meaning basically, so there's this name Mani Rosa that my father then said, which means like you drink the milk of your mother, but you're eating corpses. If you don't understand the workings of karma, then you will never become liberated from the lower realms of samsara. So this is really what the essence of my father said to me. And also when we look around, we can see this everywhere. For example, in the animal realm, there's a certain kind of animals that comes out in summertime, and it eats all the smaller insects. And it doesn't really have any legs or hands, but it goes around eating insects, many ants, mainly it eats many ants, and then it grows fatter and fatter, and then in the end suffers from that too. And then also, of course, obviously the animals that are being eaten suffer. Or for example, there are some animals in the ocean, some are very large, and then there is many millions of tiny little animals that feed on that large animal. For example, these tiny animals live in the insides, in the belly of that large animal, and then they use this large animal as their dwelling place, and that's where they live, and also that's where they eat and what they eat. And so then together, the large animal and all the tiny microorganisms, the tiny animals, they all live together, experiencing suffering and pain together. So karma manifests in so many different ways. So think about it really carefully. So if someone who doesn't understand, who doesn't really reflect on karma carefully, and therefore also neglects immeasurable love and compassion, for them, what actually could be virtuous, they will turn that into non-virtue. And so this is, for example, what a title like my title can lead to if one wouldn't think about it carefully. So I really, therefore, thought about karma always very carefully, and I did, as a result, develop some trust in karma. So, for example, give another personal example. During the Cultural Revolution in 1959, at that time I was arrested and put into prison. So I didn't really have opportunity to engage in activities to uphold the Buddhist teachings at that time. So then when I was in prison, there was a lot of misery in prison. People were hungry, starving, and some people were so desperate that they would eat, like they would pick up the feces and the urine and so of others, and then feed on that, and then others would have, and then they would have diarrhea, and the others would pick that up and eat that. So that was, the desperation was so harsh that people would go to such measures just to eat something. So there was starvation. People would starve to death. Many people would die. And then similar things also happened during the First and Second World War. Those always come hand in hand. So you have a war, and together with war, war is always followed by starvation. There's always hunger. So first there's war, then there is hunger, and then there is disease. And so also when I was in prison, I reached this state of disease after starvation, of hunger, and almost dying from hunger. And so also at that time I reflected, this must be my past karma, and now this experience here in prison is the temporary condition that causes this karma to ripen. And so at that time I also felt that this is this is a time where I would better die. So I kind of came up with a plan. So first, there were a few prison guards in prison that knew Tibetan, and so first they had arrested me because I was accused of the offense of protesting the regime and also then joining the resistance army. So I entered the war. And then on top of that, I also would say many things that the communists didn't like, and also was quite angry at them. And so all of this together, I felt is a great opportunity for me to die now. So I prayed, it will better, may I just die. So then the opportunity came up, and there was this prison official that I asked to come and talk to me. And I took the opportunity and punched him. And then on top of all these offenses that I already did before, I thought, now he will definitely kill me. But instead, he said that you are so young, you are very intelligent, you probably have parents, and you are angry at the communist regime, but not really at me. So what do you need? And he pledged to provide me with whatever I was asking for. So at that time, in the prison hospital, there were 4 levels of feeding the sick people, depending on how sick they were. So some would receive 3 rations of food, some would receive 4, some 5, and some 6. So there's 4 levels. And so I requested all of these levels of food. So I received all the 4 levels, so the 3 times plus 4 times plus 5 times plus 6 times. So I received all the levels of food. And also they put me into a single cell where there was no one else, and I basically could eat as much as I wanted at that time. And so again, I was thinking about that. Why is that happening? That's also a condition of that leads to the ripening of a karma that I have previously already created. So here I am being able to eat as much as I want, and outside there are people starving. Many people are starving to death. So this is also a time where I remembered karma. And so the cause of gaining food and things like that is the result. It is the result of having made offerings to the higher beings and having been generous towards sentient beings. So this was also a time where I really gained a deeper certainty in the past and future lives and karma cause and effect. And because other people also didn't have that opportunity, and they had to suffer intensely. So this was one opportunity for myself to gain like an inner experience, a personal experience of karma. So also before that, I gained an inner experience of karma. That was before 59, when I was still fighting in the resistance army. At that time, when we were fighting, we were bombarded with weapons from all directions. There were bombs dropping from the airplanes, so there were bullets flying down like rain, and there were arrows flying like rain, just like a mala string, one after the other. And during the daytime, we had to hide in the forest under the leaves. And this entire time, it was so dangerous, and so many people had died, and I did not get hit by any of these weapons. And I found that was, again, so strange. And again, I reflected on karma at that time. And so I reflected that there are so many people who have been hit by all these weapons and who died. And even though I was showered from all directions, from the earth and from the sky, with rain showers of arrows and bullets, I still did not die. And that was very strange to me, because so many other people had died. So this was one time, and then the other time later was when I received all that food in prison, while many other people would die of starvation. So why is that happening? It's all because of karma. So one receives things if one has practiced generosity toward higher beings or toward lower beings, sentient beings, and has made offerings to the higher beings. So I feel that this was also my karma that protected me from the rain shower of weapons and also illness and so forth. So, and this is how I reflected on the shortcomings, the faults of the 10 non-virtuous actions, and the benefits of the 10 virtuous actions. So, and so in this way, I found that I found the cause of merit. So, to begin with, first and foremost, I have received a precious human body, which in itself already is a cause of merit. And then on top of that, I understood the workings of karma and the benefits of practicing virtue, like generosity and so forth, patience, discipline. So when all of these things happened, I felt that karma is really strange, how it all falls into place, and I developed really great trust in karma. And so this is how I reflected on karma, first on the inner level, how the inner how it comes from my own personal experience. As I overcome war and famine and disease and so forth. And then through my own personal experience, then I understand the outer karma, which is when I look around in the world and see what is happening, I think about karma in a similar way. And so this is the certainty that I have gained. And so this is basically my own personal experience, and I'm passing on to others.
대회도 다들 세접대 대다버리 다도 오는 저 조국값이 다 중국어를 탈성 먹이관이 탈성지 대 세접대 이 자아도 세접대 자아 낭좀대 토기 낭좀대 강이 깍들이 소소거다 사지가 소마 먹이죠 말아서 강이들 좀 말해 진심내 말해 좀 샘내 나는 지금 좋고 또 하는 신 이렇게 진심내 진심들이 저는 이따다다 랑게 다딩이 뭐 랑게 초가고 선한테 파리 진심들은 저도한테 다 파리신 마트들이 좀 아송 대달들이 진심내 말해 조조월로 타와지 강이 좀 샘내 말해 somos nang sang de nang da sang de sebutin da yin no wa ta mni sang yin no je pang go song sa je song de so nang de song sen de song de ta da ne ta mo cho jo ka wala ta so de ta wa ti yang song sen song je sen song de ni je ta da kan song de song kan na song la yang de ta da de lo sang ta ni ta mi chama sia de wa ran bi 탐지를 삼아 삼고 종료에 탐지 파만한지 양그 파만마지와 지장매와 대달을 삼아 동네 대들이 제셈 대들이 대달을 탐지 삼보 요래 종강 낭매요 보고 탐지는 담가를 요리 마도 저 참아들이 고치 탐지는 가는 가을 가도 저 나서서 삼바 삼마리 가는 삼바리 송아리 대들이 다 배우다면 낭다 싸마거든요. 최고는 진짜버렸어. 대 나이 때다 노바 정화선 다 잡을은 세접되어 싸마다는. 그 잡을은 세접되어 싸마다 난 잡을은 다다 강에 동에 다다 한다다 왜 요래 내당 먹인 소. 또 대답도 가와 됐다 왜 요래. 대답이 따뜻다. 세나래서 제당에서 타도래서 just 말이. 그래 롱하게 됐어. 다 이는 반 세와를 때문에 다다 레도 바타비 다 람지가 민용 거요래 람지가 민용은 뭔지 사지 샤죽도 형 변하더니 삭제 송나더니 뭐 말레더니 삭장갑자 이렇게 했답요래 삭장갑자 깨서 사지 샤죽을 사지들이 삭제 송나더니 욕 매화리 된 들어가는 게 됐던 거도 당에 싸워요 말대 저분들이 쇼초거래 강에들이 사지 좀 된데 송은 다 레드 가래 레드 데레치 뭐 삭자 납자를 먹고 납자를 야채보지 종료했어 야채보지 종료 야채 타과장에 샤바 종료 그 샤수보라 더블들이 굳이 싸요래 그 공부 중통되지 야채 조금 나사가 막는 제로 잡지들 공개모게요래 콘인게 맞을 때 개모게 열이 밖에 콩들은 때 자주 조는 콩아 깨뜨들에 속사제 됐다고 속네 셀레 됐다고 상황 됐다 단 잡을 동에 잡을 때다 절 맞이니 직접 연구요 말이 얘네들 진짜 탐제들이 시다데 당진이 말은 직접 요 말이 얘네들이 삼발한테 다 송샘 요샘 송샘 동샘 내라서 봐 주발아서 봤다니 때려 연구요리 수능시바 세부터리 이제 싸워가 수능 같은 연구요리 대회를 떠나는 게 셈나지 따르다 레좀데 시선아 얘는 유노 저기 빵고 삼이 로지요래 다 디들이 이제들이 담았으는 명을 수능시 봐도 진제를 대화 타고요래 별로 나한테 다 좀하는 다뭐 소리 타르들이 뭐 이래 타르리 이 때마다 남 세부동에 양 탈고요래 세부동에 가려 타르되는 다 사마 다들이 약하고 청강을 했어. 다 답제들 강내 동에 좀 하나는 동안 제보 요래 잡으려는 거 같다면 얘는 좀 가도 레레스 지야마 마마 접제 다들 르르 주스 강내 됐다 레 잡으려는 거 동에 와서 지방 레를 타고 그랬어. 레 됐다고 세와처럼 매기 요랬어. 내 미바데 용으로 해서 다 레 접제 실종 말했어. 용들이지. 짝짓이 봤다. 다른 가래송에 땅아 레드 가지를 상고를 했어. 채도서 가지는 새로 해야요 말이지. 얘는 시야면 상고나 다 송지 상나 땅 비용 채송을 해. 미송동을 대유던 거고 나왔다면 용송을 해. 동네 탐지 배기 짝지 집안 나지리 상은 다 잡을 그 동네 가요는 참에 때도 집대로 상만 당송은 그리 세고다리 동네 그거 나라 동네에 따로 좀 디소리 이는 시당시 이게 제성상 대니가 매번도 들이나게 레장이 우선은 내가 매강나 소화다고 차고요 그랬어. 대에다가 세고 동네 그냥 뭐 중강을 비스바 지고 다다는 상만 당나 다 중강은 라마 게위지 되는 자성 가비지 되는 토성 다소로 편지도 배상제라서가 강들에 내가지는 딱 잡을 약하로 핀을 해가야지 사파 찍는 나더만 마더 탑질 배 짱마질 약과 내가 약고지 때문에 약하로 핀을 해 그자 대시에 용마 내때 나와래 돼 약하고 시켜래 대다고 상을 내가지를 가가 쪼쪼고는 당연히 거는 들게 봐 대통령 딸 레드 대시바라 되는 때 레드 대시바들이 라가 동네 탐제 수단 그 저들이 때라 적도가 때도들이 대시바 같이 달링이 좀 매주라 가서 대시나 가든 다 대시나 가사래 다 매주라 동네 세토로 코는 나라 됐다고 계속 동네 돌아 동네 때 중앙에 미모 라시 가고요레스 라시 가고요레스 라시 자주 파쇼를 따나한테 왔다도 요리스 배는 민강는 손을 같이 민강는 난 민강는 로요 민강는 로나虽然 觉得 사회가 민강는 손을 민강는 민용지보 소소 다 배샤면이 다 강해 요리디 얘는 배샤돼서 오늘 민강는 손을 민강되게 뭐가 잡타 망보된 민주시에 돌아왔어 나들 민강는 배샤 팽지 요소를 수능 사성 세 가와도 좋아도 집에 제그요. 로라는 손을 대다 파도 송탑지 피바다 대용 손나고 절로 진짜 하고요 말이. 손나지 바다 가리 들 가와도 또하고 거니들이 라가 또 세우고 거니 파송돼 대단지 생모만 점바 생고만 그 가와들이 생고만 주바를 저러래. 레주레이션 대다들 대디다 드는아디 민강네 배사대 되잖아. 민강 뒤는 내가 왔다지 칼라사 터고요리 민강대야 제노를 메모고 소소터고요리 서로 가는 다 되지수는 남자고 사람들 뒤에도 수남들 뒤다 뒤수남들 뒤수남들 사지에 탐색들이 뭐란 거나들이 습지 탑들 비바도 되고 좀 혹시를 뭐할 때 뭐저때 상제가 제발에마도 파파 탑들 수남 싸나때 수남고 저에 막 뭐시듯이 야 뭐실 때 뭐하지부터 이 소나미 오다 돌아로 소나미 저 요리 총총 민기 요리 치부한 민트고요 말이 대회다 대식좀 보다 요리들이 샤브 요리 샤브를 뒤져다 기본적인 거 somebody 돌아보는 거들이 마찬가지로 까마득득 망건데 가래리스 내 기본 못데 샤브 요리 스티 탐지 요리 대식좀 보요리 베레스 때랑 자고 빨아서 말이니 제일 사지에 그때 레전드가 같이 나오나 그 심지하게 유를 안 쇼 것들이 동반이가 랑시들이 시작도 같이 담을 우리 타마타들이 따따배처럼 매바로 차한 거리 그 감대식이 뭐 세운 거리 그 상지들 나게 되시기 못해 상지에 우리 이 짜로 남이 유일하지가 많이 이제 짜도 요가 많이서 난 감대식이 못해 용띠는 남이 그때라 시합으로는 hin지들랑 진요리 띄우당거리 배도 스티 탐지 나나바 이요마 메이요 말이 수련남 집안은 도트는 다 hin지 시험 체수의 시합을 대식 정보대 참아 요나요 이 삼성제도 많지라 이다다다지 차로도 셔터고 말이 내가 수련남과 저 집에 당무서 들이랑 줄람 탐지를 띠 맞췄어요만 내가 탐지를 찾은 거네 예를 들다 님바고 저정도 저바서 무슨 본고서 이노 이게 반고서 이비 집에 저고서 레드미 대전에 이나 노바 본왔다 김보지 무고서 가리 번째 와서 라토 마소 인시 마토서 배대다 고나 그래서 우리도 가서 갈면 제일과 탑지게 따다 못하들래는 못하들 답되고 가리도 야 이때는 배가를 대 참아디 면 배바대 대와 장장이 하고도 수능을 저 치고 차면이 예를 들때 수능을 저는 뭐지 사제가 고망나 도요리 대도 심지 동랍 첨부 수능을 저 한국 마시나 대다가 좀 전에 되버려 Bena Tata Saji to Rosso Chatabina, Kashir Sopati Labdo, Kashir Tripe, Jogo Rotava, Kashir come and roll Mataba, the rung, so talk a star on the Tamako, then Gujoa Jabba Theatre, the chart of the legs, the doors and half of them. Oh, they lay, they started someone to 3 around the tree, some sort of legend, city, just to go. They don't get the sound of them, the lake, some brands of the song, the Tisson was some banagi, some of them. It's a tattoo of that thousand. The Roko told it, the maid sat down and the maid half of them. Thomas Thompson, or there, these two people are pulling up some bag of teaching. Tato Tadan, the woman, don't sell a tap to you. There are many saved them. There they come the Tassuan to talk to you. So I'm about the donor. So none the Yina Samti, Tina, they can ride down in Chalon the short or dinner. So none the Nimo already. Daddy, the Nish and Chalon. There is a student with just a Casagari, chop the or summer. The water down at this one, so Chabon. Sorry, or Tongo, some 2 times dinner. So, chap, my own yamdi, or the sense of some 2, some 2 consider this one burning your door, stock out your door. There's a jelly and yard over it, or Tom take the Pimba Deva John your door. There's a sooner have a Casaka sooner chapter. This is sooner with your heart quality more here. More to the top of the house, you get anyway. Then what is this for your head?
So in this way, I began to reflect on the outer workings of karma through my own personal experience in prison. So again, the experience of how I became liberated from the threat of weapons and of starvation and so on. And that led me to understand the outer workings of karma. So the root of all it is the inner karma, the inner experience in the mind. So at that time, when I was in prison, I reflected on the teachings of the Buddha. So what is it that protects one from the threat of starvation? It is the karma of generosity, or specifically the wish to give. And that is why I did not die from starvation. So there is the wish to give, and this wish to give is the antidote to self-grasping. So this wish to give, so that we refer to as the perfection of generosity, is to give with great joy and delight. And then I reflected on how did I become free from the threat of weapons, being harmed by weapons. It is because of a mind that wants to, a disciplined mind, a mind that wants to guard the vows. So in essence, discipline is a mind that wishes not to cause any harm toward others. So the Buddha said, do not cause any harm toward others. That is the mind of discipline. And so this is what had protected me from the threat of disease, of weapons, and starvation. So mainly it is the wish to give and a wish not to harm others. And then also on top of that, the third one is that, for example, while I was in prison, because I was thinking about karma, I began to see everyone as my parent. I developed great love for them. And thinking in this way, the mind became peaceful and relaxed. And there was no one that I was angry at. I saw them all as my parents. So I developed a mind of love. That's the third one. I was kind to everyone. Everyone in prison was my friend. Maybe there were a couple of people who didn't like me, but I was really friends with about almost everyone, also including the prison guards. And that is because in my mind, I had pure love for them all and saw them all as a friend. And that is why not even the prison guards would really like me. So again, it comes down to the mind of love that wishes to benefit others. So it is a mental experience that then helps me to understand the outer world. So when I then think about the outer world on the basis of my own personal experience, so for example, nowadays in the world, we can see all the harm that's happening. There is disease, there is wars, there's a lot of misery and suffering, and people endure many hardships. And all of this always comes back to karma, and karma begins in the mind. So the afflictions of greed and anger and jealousy lead the body and speech to action. And then others cause harm to one another. And if we hurt each other, then this karma will naturally ripen. Now, for example, there was one story of when the Buddha was alive. A Buddha experienced a headache, and so then one disciple asked him, why tell us the cause of that? Why is this happening? And so the cause was that in a previous life, there was this tribe where the Buddha lived in his previous life, and that tribe had there were 500 of them, and the Sakya, there were a Sakya army coming in, and so the Sakya army was where the Buddha was, and they had their heads all chopped off. So what was the karma of that? And the Buddha did not have his head chopped off, and so the Buddha said that that's also in the Vinaya, by the way, and I can also ask Khenpo Tenzin more clearly about that, because I might not remember it very clearly. But so anyways, the Buddha was then asked so what it is that spared him of that, and just basically having a headache and not the head chopped off. And so the Buddha said in a previous life, these 500 people, the 500 Sakyas, they were feasting on a huge fish, and they caught that fish and put it out in the dry, but it was still alive. They didn't kill the fish, and they were feeding on the fish, so cutting pieces of the fish flesh while it was still alive. And so the fish was flapping in agony, and at that time, the Buddha was a little boy, and he laughed a bit about the flapping of how the fish was flapping. And so that's why, as a result, he still didn't get his head chopped off, because he wasn't really feeding on it, but he experienced some pain. So it all follows precisely the workings of karma. So really think about it. Everything has a cause, and there is nothing that doesn't have a cause. And all causes come down to self-grasping, and then that leads to anger and so forth. So if love is at the basis, then from that arise a wish to give, a wish to be disciplined, and to practice patience. So that is what we call merit. And so and it arises also on the basis of understanding karma. So if you understand and trust in karma, then this mind that doesn't want to harm others at all arises in you. And that is the foundation, really, of all merit to be accumulated. And then all merit leads to the result of happiness. So in prison, for example, first I experienced the suffering of first I was bombarded with weapons before prison, and then the suffering of starvation and so forth. And I was freed from all these sufferings, but most importantly, I was freed from mental suffering. And so that is really what we need to liberate us from, is mental suffering. So in prison, there was obviously a lot of misery, a lot of suffering. And I recognize this all to be karma. It is said that if you wish to know what you did in the past life, look at your present body, your present life. So all the suffering in the world comes down to karma, always. A karma is created and it is bound to mature one day. So when it matures into suffering, the people see this as something negative. This is bad. But someone who actually understands karma will not see it as something negative, not see it as a fault, but actually as a good thing. Just like doing a surgery in a hospital. So whatever suffering you encounter, you know it has a cause. And since I have created the cause, I must, one way or the other, purify this karma. It has to become purified in this or another lifetime. And beyond this life, the mind will not die. So it will come to fruition sooner or later. So it's better to purify it now when I'm still alive in this life, because I have a precious human body. And the Buddha had said that it is even a headache. The headache of in a human being can purify the negative karma that would lead otherwise to birth in the 3 lower realms. So when we do a surgery, there is pain, but we see it as a necessity. And so this is really the suffering that we witness in the world. It all has to unfold because of karma. And if you understand that, the mind will be so much lighter. If you don't understand that, if you just focus on the suffering, then you will be crushed by the heavy load of suffering. And you will think that I suffer so much. And then because you can't bear suffering, it makes you angry. And then you blame others for it. So when you understand karma, all of that will go away and the mind will be much more light. For example, when I was in prison, I was sincerely very happy all of the time because I met the guru in prison, I received the dharma, I was able to cultivate love and compassion for my friends. And also, even when it came to the labor I had to do, I saw it as something beneficial that would benefit the country. So every brick I had to cut and arrange on a pile, I did it perfectly. I did my job just perfectly, always thinking that it will help the people, the general people. And this is also what I always told my other companions. And so the way I performed my labor in prison was voluntarily and with great joy and happiness. So this is how it is when you really understand karma. When you understand karma, you can transform all suffering into an opportunity of accumulating merit. But that's why it's so important to understand karma. So therefore, again, if someone were to ask me, what would you prefer, eyes or karma, then I would definitely say I prefer to understand karma. Because if I only have eyes, then all I see with these eyes in this world is just misery and suffering. And then I just carry this misery in my own mind. For example, in prison, it is because of that many people actually committed suicide. And for myself, let alone committing suicide, I actually was very joyful. And I felt that that is good. I'm purifying my negative karma, my obscurations. It was just like going to the hospital and doing a surgery. And actually, speaking of going to a hospital and doing a surgery, that also can become a cause of great merit. For example, normally we think that I don't want to go to hospital because it's so expensive, I can't afford, I don't want to pay the bill. But if you think about it, if you in that hospital, there's thousands of people who are being treated for their illnesses. So if I'm able to contribute some money to the hospital, then that is a great merit because many thousands of people can be cured, can be treated in this way. And the people who are working there have food to eat and so on. So I would give with great happiness and joy. Or the same is for a school, for example. Basically, wherever you go, there is a way to accumulate merit. It's just that people don't recognize that. But actually, there is merit everywhere. If you do it whatever you do, if you do it with joy and delight. For example, the generosity is not the giving, but it's the wish to give. The wish to make offerings to the higher beings and to give to sentient beings. And then when you have that wish, you will actually then give with great happiness and joy. And so that is what happens when you understand karma. And then because of the joy, then the act of giving becomes an actual offering. So for example, today if I'm going to a hospital and paying the bill at the hospital, then with that money, the staff can be paid, so they have food to eat, the hospital improves, and many people can be healed in the hospital. So therefore, I'm giving with great happiness and joy. So that is, for example, an opportunity to accumulate great merit. And so that is what the Buddha had taught as the method for creating the cause of merit. And that's why all the Buddhas have made that prayer, may beings be happy and have the cause of happiness. And that is ensured if the merit created is also dedicated. So the Buddhas taught a method to dedicate the merit so that it does not become destroyed. So first of all, people often don't recognize even that they can accumulate merit as an opportunity to accumulate merit, really basically in everything that you do. But even if they do recognize it, often they do it and they recognize it, but then they forget to dedicate it. And then if we do not dedicate our merit, then it will become wasted at some point. It will disintegrate eventually. So there will still be a small result ripening, but there will be no great result ripening. The inherent virtue that you always possess is your own Buddha nature. So even though you possess Buddha nature, we often don't have the wisdom to recognize the opportunities of merit everywhere, really. Also, there was another question once Khenpo Tenzin asked about, which comes from a story that my father also told me. How when you look at a certain kind of rock, there are different. You can see it's sparkling, like stars and sparkling. You can see the sun reflected in it, and even that, as my father had said, is actually that's a good example of this innate cause of merit or cause of virtue, which is the wisdom, intelligence aspect, your Buddha nature. So only if you look closely can you see that actually it sparkles everywhere, and that is the Buddha nature that pervades everything. So therefore, if you when you understand the scriptures and the workings of karma, cause and effect, you will understand that all sentient beings naturally possess the cause of merit because they possess Buddha nature. And then when they begin to recognize that, then the intelligence inherent within their mind will dawn, or kind of will awaken, will become apparent. And then they develop faith and an aspiration in the dharma, for example. So Buddha nature is like this gold inherent within one. And as the mind matures, it becomes more and more apparent. So the gold, the sparkle, reveals itself. And it is said that as it reveals itself, you realize that it's not something new that has arisen in you, and it's also nothing that you found elsewhere. But it's a quality that's already inherent within your mind. You already have that quality of Buddha nature, and the quality of which is intelligence or wisdom and compassion. It is just now it becomes awakened and it rises and it reveals itself. And so here it doesn't matter whether one is a Buddhist or not. Everyone possesses this nature. And that nature is the inherent merit within us. And that is so if you recognize it and never separate from love and compassion, then it will completely mature and the ice block of self-grasping will melt. So the point is to recognize the merit that is present at all times. And in whatever you do, merit pervades everywhere. So at all times, there is a way to practice generosity, discipline, patience. Now, as we said, discipline is the mind that wishes not to cause any harm towards others. So when that arises in your mind, then you will feel, no matter what, I will not cause any harm towards others. And that is what accomplishes the state of enlightenment. Also, Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok had said just that. He said, do not hold your own mind with stability, hold your awareness with stability, and do not cause harm to others. Do not disturb others. So everything is really encapsulated within that statement. And also in science, for example, there's merit to be accumulated. For example, scientists have developed cars, and how convenient is that? We can travel anywhere. And it is really what causes also great benefit and happiness for others. So if you really think about it, you can see that even that can become, such a creation can become a cause of accumulating great merit. That is, now if you know how to dedicate and recognize it, then you will attain the state of enlightenment. If you do not recognize it and do not dedicate it, then there will be just a temporary result. So there is a result called the result corresponding to the cause. And that is, there's some individuals who have the merit to travel very fast, like on an airplane, for example. And then there is others who have no opportunity to fly and who can't go that fast. And they can't run away from the larger animals, for example, who catch up and then eat them. And then there is others who can't even move at all. And so that's all due to karma. So this arises when this certainty in karma arises is when you reflect on that. And this certainty must arise in the mind. That's very important. So again, remember this quote by Jigten Sumgön, who said, cause and effect is the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. So think about that whenever you encounter any being, like a little animal, for example. If you reflect on that, then you will be able to see their suffering and want to dispel their suffering. You will see that they suffer from hunger and thirst and from heat and cold. And then you will do what you can to protect those around you. Even if you can't protect every single animal, you will do whatever you can to help those around you. And so that is a skillful means to accumulate great merit. It is when you see the suffering of others and you think about, since it is in front of you, what can I do to help them? So in this way, again, there's a way to accumulate great merit. So in brief, merit ultimately is the mind of love. When there is love, then the ice block of self-grasping will melt, just like the sun melting the ice. So merit is compassion, which is like the sunlight that melts the ice of self-grasping. And merit, the cause of merit is everywhere, in any circumstance. For example, even when you go and pee, when you use the toilet, that can be a cause of merit too. Because there are actually many animals who are feeding on feces and are drinking urine. And also in the feces there are already many animals, or the feces turn into animals, like I've seen happening in prison. First you have the poop, and then slowly there are little maggots and bugs growing in that poop. But then the poop actually becomes very beneficial because it could be used as fertilizer too, for example. So anything can become very beneficial. So think about it in this way, and that's really a skillful way for you to never separate from merit. You can always accumulate merit if you understand that. And then once you have recognized that, you also must dedicate the merit that you created. And so the Buddha taught the method for doing so. Dedication is very important.
你干嘛你生命所叫那这些的嘞？
Please take a break for 20 minutes.
对，就爱不唱歌。